Hey there, off-goers, Muse here, but before we get into this week's episode of the Going Off podcast featuring the rock critic Crash Thompson, a few things we wanted to get out of the way. First and foremost, this week's episode features a Patreon-requested review. If you want to request an album for us to review on the Going Off podcast, it is a one-time $40 pledge to patreon.com/rapcritic or patreon.com/muse. And in addition, as you may or may not know, every so often we cut clips from the Going Off podcast and throw them up on Patreon for people pledging $1 or more a month. This week, as a special bonus, the clips I'm posting are absolutely free. So if you just go to patreon.com/muse, you can download both cut segments from this week's recording. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, consider pledging $1 or more a month and hear all the past Going Off extras and all the future Going Off extras. Once again, that's patreon.com/muse. Pledges as low as $1 get you access to bonus, exclusive audio and video content. And if you want an album to be reviewed on the podcast, it is a one-time $40 pledge to either patreon.com/rapcritic or patreon.com/muse. With all that out of the way, on with the show.
This is not the Matrix, but I am the Oracle. Do you want to get with me? The question is rhetorical. It's the Going Off podcast with Rap Critic and Muse.
Oh, hitting you with that Soulja Boy hotness, making your speakers go bammer.
Hammer, hammer, hammer. That's literally, no, you know what's really funny? I actually liked that song.
I remember you saying that back in the day, yeah.
Like, it was literally when I started to be like, hey, this song is kind of fun. And then it's like, nobody listens to Soulja Boy anymore. It's like, oh, I guess me liking someone is their death knell.
Yeah, you have to suddenly act like, oh yeah, me too, fuck that guy. So the reason we're talking about Soulja Boy is because Soulja Boy has found himself in some hot water, and boy oh boy, everything about this story is so incredibly dumb. Soulja Boy apparently liked a picture on Instagram of a female,
a couple pictures
of someone that Chris Brown used to be involved with, and Chris Brown didn't like this, you know, even though it's someone he hasn't been involved with in some time, I imagine. So he took to social media to voice his displeasure with that. They went back and forth a little bit, and now we find ourselves in a pay-per-view boxing match between the two. Could this get any dumber? Yes, it can.
Is this actually happening? Is this actually happening?
Yes. It is in fact happening. Both people are being trained by their respective spousal abusers. We got, I mean, let's just call a spade here. Fucking Mike Tyson. I'm not sure if he was a convicted rapist or not. Is training Chris Brown. And you got the wife beater, Floyd Mayweather, training Soulja Boy. 3 people out of the 4 people have been violent towards women.
You know, it's funny. It's weird when Soulja Boy is like the least person that you're concerned about.
Yeah,
you know?
and honestly, when I was going in, when I heard Chris Brown is beefing with Soulja Boy, at first I was like, all right, whatever. But then when it escalated to boxing match, my first instinct was, is Chris Brown above this? Like, and the only reason I ask that is more or less, does he need the publicity this bad? Because he just did a song where he was, like, featured heavily on a DJ Khaled track not too long ago.
Like, Chris Brown is still making hit songs. What the fuck is he worried about Soulja Boy for?
Like, Soulja Boy, I could understand. He had
Soulja
that
Boy's
mixtape
washed up.
He did that mixtape, ignorant shit with fucking Bow Wow that no one gave any attention to.
Oh, yeah. Soulja Boy and Bow Wow, a.k.a. Robin and Robin.
I can see why they would want to fucking, you know, get some publicity, but Chris Brown, what the fuck are you doing?
I don't know.
And then it quickly went to, okay, so Chris Brown overreacted, and he's being a dick, so is Soulja Boy the bigger man? Which then brings us to our next example, our next exhibit. Fucking Soulja Boy is now claiming, Mr. White Knight over here, that he's doing it for Rihanna's honor. Come the fuck on, dude. Shut up.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
I know they said that, like, they were friends back in the day. I don't know if they still are, but if this was seriously, if this was your reasoning, right? You wouldn't be fucking clowning around on Twitter. You'd be like, no, motherfucker, what you did was fucked up. You're being an asshole. Like, you'd be talking straight. You wouldn't be still acting like the Soulja Boy of 2005, would you? Like, you'd trying to be acting like the adult who is like, no, Chris Brown is being a fucking baby. I gotta put him in his place. If violence is even where this needs to go, which it shouldn't. But now that it's a pay-per-view, and it's this whole big overblown thing where both of them are being trained by actual boxers. I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I was gonna ask for predictions, but I'm gonna say my hope for this is that nobody fucking buys this.
What pisses me off is that, like, it keeps going back and forth, because Soulja Boy keeps going, like, first he's like, oh, I'm gonna meet up such and such, and he's, like, about to throw hands at people, like there's actually footage of him, like, going somewhere, like, fucking with some dudes, and, like, he's actually about to, like, throw down, so you see this shit, and then the next minute he's like, oh, you know, the reason why I've been acting like this is because my mom was, like, sick or something like that, and so, you know, please forgive me, and then next thing is, man, fuck you because Karrueche Tran doesn't like you, and the next minute is, well, we need to be more mature, like, dude is, do you remember a long time ago when we watched the Soulja Boy movie, when that one person was talking about how Soulja Boy is a kid who's been basically introduced to all of this money and power and hasn't had to have to grow up?
Yeah.
This is the manifestation of that.
Yeah.
If anyone had seen the Soulja Boy movie, which no one did, but for a joke, we decided to.
I honestly believe that most people who have seen the movie have only seen it through us.
Yeah, probably. More people have seen our review of the fucking movie than they've seen
the actual movie.
Yeah, but, you know, like, this is the perfect, like, manifestation of that. And it's actually weird. I'm going to say the opposite of what I said earlier. I say that Chris Brown is oddly the more mature person. Even though he started the shit, like, okay, first of all, Soulja Boy is kind of being a creeper, like, liking someone's pics, like, going through all of them. Like, it's not like, oh, he put out a pic, and then he liked it. Like, it's, the way it's being framed is that, like, he just one day went through and liked all of our pics, which is weird. Like, you're a celebrity, people can see when you do shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just weird. Now that Chris Brown noticed it, like, why were you looking at her? Like, what happened for you to even notice that that was happening? Like, if you're going about your life, this person is an ex of yours, why are you even looking? Like, all right, but I give you the benefit of a doubt. Like, you see that it's, you know, maybe he got nostalgic, you know, he wanted to look at the, like, oh man, this is the girl that I used to love or whatever. And then he sees that Soulja Boy's liking her pictures, like, what? That's weird. But, like, I could never see that as a motivation for me to be like, man, fuck you for clicking a button on the internet. Like, you know? It's not like you left a comment like, yo, baby, I'm thirsty as fuck. I'm trying to eat that pussy. You know? And second of all, what does it matter? She's none of your concern.
You know what's funny? Out of all of this whole time, I was kind of expecting Drake to do this on Nicki's Instagram, since her and Meek are dunzo.
Oh, yeah.
But I haven't heard anything about that.
Man, Meek fucked up. Meek fucked up so bad. I was waiting. Because you remember, like, when Meek got Nicki, I was like, what? Nicki? Yeah, this? Huh? Like, I have no idea where this came from. Like, Meek Mill isn't exactly someone who's just like, yeah, I'm someone who's very understanding emotionally. Like, this guy drops, you know, homophobic shit and all that shit like that, like, left and fucking right. So I kind of didn't understand, because Nicki Minaj, at least I thought, like, her whole thing is that, like, yeah, I have a big gay fan base, and, like, you know, I love those guys, and, you know, this and the third. So it's just like, it just feels weird that she was dating him. So I was just like, I mean, I'm not one to be like, oh, you can't date him, but it does feel kind of odd. And then, like, the disses to Drake started happening. And I was like,
yeah.
Okay, this is weird. Like, first of all, you think it would be over Nicki. You think it would be, but it wasn't. Second of all, you're dissing Drake. Meek, you're dissing Drake. And you're dating the person that he's been fawning over for 3 years. And he at no point mentions that in any of his diss songs. But then, like, on top of that, just the fact that she, like, dealt with all of that shit for 2 years and never really seemed to have, like, a response to it. Like, I remember one or two times you said, like, oh, I hope he stops that. But, like, I don't know. That seems like that should be a major riff in a relationship. Like, dude, this is someone, like, you're fucking up the money right now. You know, Drake and Nicki Minaj, even if they're not really a thing, like, the mythology of them being a thing is kind of important to you know, their mythos or whatever. And so, like, for the person that you're actually dating to be dissing the guy that you're pretend dating in your music, unless something is being done with that narrative, like, which could actually be interesting. If we're gonna just, like, play this up as just, like, fucking kayfabe, you know what I mean? Wouldn't that be totally fucking interesting if, like, hip-hop was, like, wrestling? And, like,
oh my god, dude, it almost is.
Drake
There's gonna be a fucking boxing match between fucking Soulja Boy and Chris Brown. It basically is.
But can you imagine, like, Drake and Drake and Meek going into, like, a fucking ring and actually, like, battling each other lyrically? And, you know, Nicki coming in, like, the last second and dissing both of them and breaking up with Meek and shit. Like, that shit would be epic if it was actually played up like that. And first of all, it wasn't even started over. It's like the beef was started over, Nicki. It was all started over, oh, you didn't tweet my album. Gotta really feel like a dumbass to be like, I almost blew up my career because someone didn't fucking tweet my album.
I know a lot of people, it's the go-to to be like, oh my god, for someone who's gonna be president, Trump really needs to fucking, you know, grow a pair or get thicker skin or whatever. But in rap, so much of the image is like being a badass and not letting shit get to you. But oh my god, so many of these dudes are like the slightest thing. Pay-per-view fight. I'm getting Mike Tyson to train me and I'm gonna fucking rip your head off. Over dude. What? Because he liked a few pictures on your ex's Instagram?
You know, like,
what is this, 8th grade?
Yeah, let's put this shit in perspective. Like, Drake and Meek going at each other's throats, not because, did Nicki, betray, Meek for Drake? Was it the other way around? Was she playing off of both of them? Scandal, like, playing with people's hearts and emotions. Oh, and these guys get so angry, and then they start dissing each other. No, it's because, how come you didn't tweet my album? Man, fuck you. Matter of fact, I found the reference track for the Rico song, so fuck you. You a cheater. Matter of fact, this isn't about me not tweeting your album. This isn't about you not tweeting my album. No, now this is because you used reference tracks, a thing that I literally didn't care about when we were recording the song together.
This is why so few people outside of, like, the know give a shit about whenever these beefs or disses go down, because all they need to do is hear the fucking root cause, and it's like, well, that's dumb. Why would I care? Like, in a lot of the cases, I'll hear the diss tracks back and forth before I know what happened. Like, you usually inform me by the time we're doing the podcast, so when I had heard the back and forth between Meek Mill and Drake, I didn't know what caused it. So when fucking Drake was, like, throwing bombs at Meek, and, you know, Meek was, using that unlicensed Undertaker sample and getting in trouble over it? Like, yeah. I was like, dude, shit better be fucking serious for all this shit to be going down. And then when I find that out afterwards, it makes it all seem really silly in hindsight.
If it was some monumental shit that started these beefs, it would be like, okay, I get it. You know what I mean? But, like, let's go back to the first online beef. Rick Ross versus 50 Cent. Okay?
What year was this?
March 2008. 50 Cent compliments Rick Ross on his #1 album during an interview, but also warns him not to stand too close to Fat Joe, who was feuding with him and G-Unit at the time, alluding that the friend of my enemy is an enemy. But that's just kind of vague, like, whatever. This is the big thing that I remember seeing, like, at the time. During the 2008 BET Awards, Rick Ross saw 50 Cent and did not like the way he looked at him. This is exactly what you were saying. This is fucking 8th grade shit. I didn't like the way he fucking looked at me. You guys are on a BET Awards show with millionaires, getting money and having fun, taking pictures. Who gives a fuck how someone looked at you?
Well, yeah, one person whose opinion of you is going to have absolutely no impact on your career at all.
If you just chill the fuck out.
Especially 50 Cent in 2008? Wasn't he, like, already fucking put underground by Kanye by that point?
Yeah, he probably just wasn't happy in general that year.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have been. I wouldn't have even shown up.
Like, is 50 Cent really the guy you expect to be wearing a smile on his face?
I ask that seriously. Like, I'm really curious. How do rappers want other rappers to look at them? Like, do they want a fucking, like, a throw the head back, kind of like, what's up? Do they want to smile? Like, I don't imagine rappers smile at each other a lot.
No, but here's the funny thing. The second sentence, because I remember this as well. 50 Cent would later claim that he doesn't remember Rick Ross even being at the award show.
That is a good argument at that point.
Dude, do you know what this was started over? This was started over resting bitch face.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know how, like, you're just not reacting to anything, you're just looking off in general. You know, nothing's
you're just
really
staring into
yet.
space.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes you just, I mean, fucking 50 Cent, he just looks mad. And his face just happened to be in the direction of Rick Ross, who just happened to be looking over him at the time. And Rick Ross was like, you know, he's always wearing the shades because he wants to look cool, you know, and he just looks over, and like 50 Cent, he sees Rick Ross wearing the shades. So, you know, when you wear shades, you're not really sure, like, where someone's looking. You don't really know if they're looking at you. So, like, he didn't really feel a need to respond to him, so he just had the resting bitch face. He was just kind of looking off. And then Rick Ross looks at him, and he just goes like, is he looking at me? What? Why is he looking at me?
Yeah, like, do they want other rappers looking at them at all? Honestly. Like, just don't even look at me.
Yeah, but I think he just probably, 50 Cent probably just had a fucking zone out moment, and he was just like, I wonder if I left the oven on.
Rick Ross says he didn't like the way you were looking at him, and 50 Cent just goes, Rick Ross was there. Oh my god. He must have been talking about when I was looking out that window. No!
I was all misunderstanding.
In a lot of these cases, because I saw the poster for the, because there's a fucking poster for the Chris Brown, Soulja Boy, pay-per-view fight, where it says, put down the guns and put on the gloves.
Oh, bullshit. They weren't fucking popping guns. No, put down the fucking phone and pick up the gloves.
In a lot of these cases, all of these could easily be resolved with a, hey man, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. But they never end that way. Like,
literally, just text them, hey, I saw that you posted something. Is something wrong? Like, oh yeah, I didn't like what you said about this. Oh no, I didn't mean it like that. Over!
Oh, okay. Like, is there some type of decorum or, like, way you're supposed to carry yourself as a rapper where, like, that's just out of the question? Like, like I said before, you need to just be a badass 100% of the time where it's like, talk out my feelings and emotions, that's for assholes. No. I would much rather put my life in danger by threatening him multiple times in music.
You know what it did?
Why would you do that?
You know what it is? And you know, a lot of the times when people actually, like, squash beef, you know, people always say, like, oh man, you know, we talked it over and we squashed it, you know? They make it sound like they were fucking diplomats solving the problems of like two warring nations, and then like they had to make a peace treaty. No, you know what fucking happens most of the time when people quote unquote squash beef? They probably just go like, "Hey man, I felt some type of way when you said this. Oh shit, I didn't mean it like that."
Or they just forgot why they were even beefing and just moved on.
Yeah.
I need a fucking journal. I need a lodger of like, okay, who am I currently beefing with? And if I don't write it down, I'm gonna forget. So it's like, hey, I'm going to the club. I'm talking about possibly doing a collaboration with this one guy. What? That one guy? Yeah, why? What's wrong? You were beefing with him like last spring. Don't you remember that? It was like all over Twitter and Instagram. Oh, no. We're just gonna record that song, and if anyone asks about it, they're like, oh no, that's water under the bridge. We squashed that beef.
We squashed it, man. We came together as men, and we talked it over.
We sat on the opposite sides of a long table, and we slid a contract across each other. And we signed it, and we shook hands, and we took photos.
I'll put it to you like this: when Dr. Dre and Eazy-E had a beef, it was over like shit that fucking like mattered. Like, you were on my label, and you left me for another label. You fucked with my money.
Yeah.
And I thought we were friends. And someone else might be fucking over my money. Shit is going down. You know what I mean? That makes sense. But this shit is just like, are you fucking serious right now? Like, are you people not goddamn adults?
You got people like members of NWA. You could possibly imagine, okay, they might come to blows, in one way or another. But when you think Soulja Boy and Chris Brown, at no point did I think they were going to pick up guns anyway.
Yeah.
Except for the really weird... You know what's funny? You got to point out, songs that get played on the radio a lot, and then you really listen to the lyrics. A good example, and this is a small sidetrack, Party Up by DMZ, right? DMX. DMZ, the rap tabloid website, DMX. That song gets played on the radio a lot because it's just kind of like a go-to. It's kind of like a crossover pop hit in a weird way. Oh
yeah, totally. It has the chorus of a catchy song, but the verses of an underground rapper who has no idea how to achieve mainstream appeal.
And the whole song is talking about how he's gonna kill another famous rapper. Like, how is this a party song where he's talking about, you're staring at the roof of the church, and the preacher telling the truth and it hurts, and the whole shit.
What did he say? These niggas is characters, not even good actors. What's gonna be the outcome? Let's add up all the factors. You whack, you twisted, your girl's a hoe, you broke, the kid ain't yours, and everybody knows. Like, that's personal.
You got like 15-year-old white kids go, well, I go angry, who am I? Like, they don't fucking know. They're not listening.
No, it's like, he's literally talking about, like, I can't fucking believe how these whack-ass motherfuckers. He's not talking about, I'm gonna lose my ride in the club. No, he's literally going, like, trying to figure out how the fuck these guys got famous.
Yeah, he's violent as shit in that song, but the one I wanted to bring up was with Soulja Boy, Crank Dat. I'm jocking on your bitch ass, and if we get to fighting, then I'm cocking on your bitch ass. Like, how did it get to this point? This week on the Going Off podcast, we are reviewing another Patreon-requested album. It's Morphine and their 1993 album, Cure for Pain, requested by Charles Hanna. If you want to request an album to be reviewed on the Going Off podcast, it is a one-time $40 pledge to either patreon.com/rapcritic or patreon.com/muse. Now, this week, since this is a rock album, a jazz rock album to be exact, I figured we would reach out to a fellow reviewer who might have a little bit more of an insight on this, because when we got rock albums on this podcast where it's generally hip-hop albums, we can only say so much. So this time we invited Crash Thompson, the rock critic, on the podcast to lend us his insight. Crash, how you doing?
Not bad, guys. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, alt-rock is definitely a generous term for this album.
Right?
Yeah. Oh.
It sounds like the music for those late 80s, early 90s, like, cutesy comedy movies where they're using, like, blues, but it's not like blues from, like, back in the day. Like it reminds me of the soundtrack to Adventures in Babysitting. You guys remember that movie?
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, absolutely. Like the thing is, listening to this thing the whole time, all I could think was this was a soundtrack to like Slackers 2 or like, some super early, like David O. Russell film or just something like that. This thing just reeks of 90s soundtrack. And sure enough, when I looked this thing up on Wikipedia, turns out a lot of the songs from this actually were in the soundtrack to, let me look it up. Actually, a David O. Russell film, Spanking the Monkey.
Yeah, here you go.
What the fuck?
Good call on that one. But as we were talking about Cure for Pain, yeah, that was the only thing that really stuck out to me was how incredibly 90s this album sounded, and how I don't believe that there would have been any other time in history that an album like this would have been successful besides 1993.
Yeah.
I mean, wait, was it though?
I mean, I'm looking at footage of them performing on Conan O'Brien. They had a music video shown on Beavis and Butthead. They were known at least in that circle. I don't know if they were like mainstream big, but I guess they were big in like the alt-rock scene.
Apparently they did get a little bit of buzz. It charted
in New Zealand.
It charted in Australia and New Zealand.
That's something.
That's something. But yeah, like you said, it was on Beavis and Butthead, The Sopranos, a Daria episode. So like there were people trying to push it and trying to make it a thing.
Like literally, I look at the singles and see like if they charted or whatever. There's not even like a charting thing for their singles. It's just the list of all like 8 of them, and then I see a link to Murder for the Money in 1997. I'm thinking, oh, that must be their big hit song, and I click on it. And it's a link to the movie Wild Things.
Oh,
and,
I guess it was in the movie Wild Things?
I'm assuming it was in the movie, but unfortunately, the Wikipedia page doesn't tell me anything about the soundtrack. So I don't, like, this is like, you want to know more about this song? Go here, where they don't even include the soundtrack. Like, what the fuck was the thinking behind this?
See, it's an interesting case because I'm looking at the reviews. 4.5 stars on All Music Guide. Rolling Stone gave it a 3. It seemed to do okay, but if you look at the review or the synopsis of the album that followed it, that came out in 95, they're saying that it did okay, but it didn't do as well as the predecessing album. But if you look at the review of this one, its main credit is that it was in a list of top 10 underrated 90s alternative rock albums.
Yeah,
so like, how good did it do? Little background. Again, if this doesn't sound 90s as fuck in premise, or as that was not a play on words to sound like Primus, but maybe it was, that Morphine is another 3. It's another trio led by a bassist, which is what Primus was or is.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. Do not compare this to Primus. Primus is interesting.
This is not... Primus and this do not share shelf space.
I'm saying that
but I see where you're coming from here.
Bands like Primus and Faith No More are the only reason that bands like Morphine were able to survive at all.
Here's the thing, like it's marketing itself as jazz rock, that's what it's selling itself as. But the thing is, to me, the weirdest thing about this album is it feels like it's one part jazz and one part rock, but they are not like melded together at all. Like it's kind of jazz, it's kind of rock, and they're just sitting in the room next to each other, just staring at each other very awkwardly, like it's a first date and everything is going wrong. Like there is no fusion, there is no harmony between the jazz and the rock going on. So a dude just bought a fuzz pedal for his stand-up bass and let dude play a saxophone instead of guitar solos, and that does not a rock album make. I'm sorry.
Basically, it you know what it sounds like? It sounds like Kenny, who's that? Kenny G dude?
Kenny G.
Yeah. It sounds like if Kenny G was trying to be more hard edge but completely failed.
Yeah, like the first thing that popped into my head while listening to this, I was like, this is Collective Soul by way of Dave Matthews Band. It's just oof. Like it's like if Dave Matthews had broken onto the scene like 3 or 4 years earlier than he did, I imagine he'd probably sound something like this.
Morphine here. You got, dude, I'm going to go ahead and say this. It's ambitious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mark Sandman, lead singer. Though? Dude, you got one dude who wrote all the fucking songs. And who else was doing jazz rock? You know, like, I will say, it's a little ballsy. And for what it was, it succeeded to an extent much better than I would expect it to have done.
Maybe at the time that was an interesting sound, but I don't know. I think like right now, like I've already heard this, like I said, in so many soundtracks, in so many like I said, this sounds like the fucking alternative music for the Full House theme song. A lot of these, you know,
it's not something I'd call incompetent. Like it's played very well. They obviously have a sort of unique vision and a unique style that they're trying to pull off, and they do it effectively. And I'd say for the niche sound that they're trying to create, I'd say it's very skillful and it is very well executed. But at the same time, I just don't know who this is for. You know,
like they literally should have named this album Adequate. Like,
going from good to adequate.
Good to adequate. Yeah.
And then the next one is serviceable.
I think, I know I saw somewhere that people consider Mark Sandman to be one of the underrated bassists of like 90s alt rock, and I think he does fine. But god damn it, as a vocalist,
he's not interesting. No,
he sucks.
Like he's got the 90s vocalist problem in that he's like he kind of sounds like a low rent Eddie Vedder or like
it's like the baritone sort of the Crash Test Dummies sort of feel.
Yeah, like he's going for that so prototypical 90s vibe, and
you know who he reminded me
it doesn't
of
fit well with. He's not good at pulling that off, and even if he were, it wouldn't fit well with the music. You know, Chris Cornell couldn't sell this. You know, it's
who he reminds me of vocally. Do you remember the band Polaris that did the music for The Adventures of Pete and Pete?
Oh yeah.
He kind of has a vocal style like that where at any point in time you could imagine him just going, whatever.
Yeah, I totally
like he just
get that
gives
vibe.
up.
Yeah. Like I half expected like just a snarky and that's it, you know, and that for him to just give up halfway and just let the sax man just carry the rest of the song.
The thing is, the personality isn't interesting enough for that. You know, if he would have done that, that would have been an improvement. But I listened to all of these songs. I listened to this album twice, and nothing stuck at all. The only thing I remember is A Head with Wings, because I was like, why the fuck is he saying that? But
that was, to me, I remember that song too, but it was just like, okay, this dude is just trying, he's just putting on his best beat poetry. He's trying his best to write Howl, and he's just not coming close with it, you know?
Yeah, he's not nearly as ambitious enough.
Oh, no. He's not ambitious enough. He's not interesting enough. Like that song, I remember that song specifically, and the only other one I remember is Sheila, because the lyrics to that one are literally just, I have a cat. I pet my cat. It's a cat.
Yeah, saxophone. She put a curse on the cat, and she put
curse on the cat. That's right. Yeah.
I'm sorry. In spite of me was annoying because I hate his droning, whispering, mumbling delivery, but Sheila is a way worse song on lyrics alone.
Oh, you know what's funny? We keep comparing him to like other 90s like rock
what the
artists.
fuck else do you expect me to do? That's all I have to go on.
But I was just about to use another one.
Oh. Go for
it. Who's the boy who did the everything's gonna be alright?
Sean Mullins.
Sean Mullins, thank you. Yes. God. Oh, the way he drones on, like the way Sean Mullins would be. And there's something in L.A. with Waka Waka. That's totally this dude. That is totally this dude. If he were less interesting than Sean fucking Mullins.
But can I say, I felt like the In Spite of Me was the best song on the album because there was a vocal effect on it. It sounded different. It started different. There was something that made it stick out from everything else that was happening. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying every song needs to be like pop out here and pop out there, but you have to do something. Like, I understand having a solid groove, but like, something has to let me know that this song is different from the other fucking song.
Yeah, like God, I didn't even remember the vocal effects in that song. So, but yeah, that's the thing. These songs do just kind of bleed into each other. There's nothing distinctive about it at all. It's all just kind of this mush of just Scott Weiland wannabe vocals and saxophones and like jazz drums that just. Oof.
See, yeah, I love the sax. I love any like wind instrument randomly showing up in rock music. I think each song has something in it that for a second fools you into thinking that it sounds different than the other songs on the album, but by the end of the song you're like, no, that was just like the last one actually.
You know what? It sounds like music that you would just have in the background.
It does.
It really, no wonder this has been used in movies a lot. This is just background noise music.
I was just going to say, yeah, this is perfect soundtrack music because you're not really supposed to be paying much attention to it, I feel there's supposed to be witty 90s characters having a back and forth. This should be playing over an episode of Friends or something,
Yes, that would be great if people were talking and having witty dialogue happening over every single song. That would have made this album better.
I agree. That totally, we should, like, if you choose to listen to this album, like intersplice clips from like Slackers and like Hackers and like all the like super early 90s as fuck movies, it'll improve your experience like tenfold, I promise.
There's a part in I'm Free Now where I swear I heard this little riff and it sounded like department store music where it's during the chorus where it goes like it brought me back to like patiently waiting for my mom to be done clothes shopping.
I know what you're saying. No, dude, that like those horn lines were Payless Shoes as all hell, man. Like, no, I feel you. I totally feel you there. Though that's the risk you take when you rely heavily on like a saxophone or like wind instruments like that. Like, you've got to, keep a consistent style or else you do run that risk of sound getting real corny really fast, You gotta
have personality, or like you said, it ends up being background music, which is, like you said, it's perfect. Background music for a movie. Background music for when you're out and about and you don't want to be at the fucking store. You want to be home. But they got to play something to get your mind off of the fact that this is boring as all hell.
Yeah,
you know what I
mean? A cure, if you would say, a cure for pain. Bringing it all back.
There is a band who, I'm just going to say, if the things that we're saying, if any of it sounds interesting to you, check out a band called Moon Hooch. If you're not familiar with Moon Hooch, it's another 3-piece. One dude drums and percussion. Other dude does saxophone, vocals occasionally, clarinet and flute. The other dude does saxophone also, contrabass, clarinet, electronic, wind, synthesizer occasionally. It's it's called jazz fusion and new jazz, but like at times it's like, oh my god, this fucking rocks so hard. And it's like their first album, there's no lyrics on it. It's just straight in your fucking face, and it's really worth checking out. I think they do what Morphine back in 93 were doing really lazily.
The only song that I feel like is interesting, or that really stuck out that I might check out again, is the Miles Davis's Funeral little thing at the end.
Oh,
yeah.
Because I understood that this was an homage to, like, you know, a great that had literally just died within that decade. You know what I mean? And so I was like, okay, I got you. And Miles Davis wasn't exactly making his best music at the end there.
Yeah, but you know, I see where you're coming from. That was a nice little gesture, you know. That's something that, you know, I can respect that. That's, and you know, it's another one of the instrumental tracks. So again, that's you know, we don't have to deal with the dude's voice, so that's always, you know, that's more of a plus. So yeah, I mean it closes as good of a note as I feel like this album possibly could, you know. So
I thought Bueno was an okay enough. I'm just going to call it an opening track, because why does a jazz rock album from 93 need an intro track?
That Donna song was really weird, especially since it's so, like, it's just super short. It's not even a minute long, and it's just like 12 notes. It's nothing.
I thought it was a part of the first song.
It could have, it should have been.
Well,
really?
No, it isn't, because they don't fade into each other. There's a clear cut, and then Buena starts. So it's just kind of there.
Buena, its intro riff, I think, is what reminded me of Presidents of the United States of America, because it has a riff that sounds like, oh god, what was that song? Kitty? If anyone's
Kitty.
If anyone's heard that song.
Which,
by the
Kitty.
way, they have a song on here that's about a cat, too. I swear, this is President of the United States of America's jazz rock side project.
No, dude, like, Kitty has much better lyrics than Sheila.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Much better.
And even then, they're very limited. But Buena starts out vaguely interesting, then gets really annoying, then has a pretty sweet sax solo, but there isn't enough of that throughout the album, so like I got bored of it really fast.
Yeah.
And I hate that Candy. Oh my god.
See, I barely even remember that one.
Candy has the awesome line about Candy wanting to take him down to Candyland.
Oh, for God's sake. Fucking dude, come on.
That going into I got a head with wings, it's like, shut up.
Yeah, no.
Get the fuck out of here.
Dude, no. Take that shit home, homie. Ugh, goddamn.
Oh, God.
I'm sure they
the
were very
90s were a
proud of
chaotic
this.
time, weren't they?
Yeah, because 93, I'm trying to think. 93 was kind of in flux because grunge was already a thing, but it was already kind of starting to die down.
Well, grunge was actually kind of up and kicking. Like, it was sort of at, like, around 92, 93 was when it was, like, at its apex. But, like, around late 93, 94, basically when Cobain died, grunge died with him. So, but yeah, this would be, like, kind of right in the... Right, like probably not right at the peak, but right when things are hot, maybe starting to cool down. I feel like this is actually a decent product of that, because, you know, like the grunge, when grunge starts mixing with jazz and, you know, a bunch of other stuff that doesn't fit it, you can kind of tell the ideas are starting to run a little short, genre-wide.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's...
You can tell that people saw what grunge was doing and thought, oh, well, maybe people are in the mood for more experimental stuff. And for an extent, people did buy this, but not for long.
Yeah, people who didn't quite understand grunge were starting to get their hands on the genre and starting to kind of take it in directions it didn't really need to go. And I feel like this is a great example of that.
I find it interesting that I'm looking at the Yes Wikipedia, and it's not categorizing it as jazz rock. It just categorizes it as alternative rock. I wonder if they just... Well, no. Because in their next album, Like Swimming, in 97, says jazz rock again. I was gonna say, like, I wonder if they just kind of like got away from that because it wasn't hitting.
Possible.
With the folks,
possible
but,
there could have been like there's possible there could have been like label pressure too, to sort of. Well, the thing is, you also got to understand, this is like a weird almost novelty act, really. Like, that's going to be pretty hard to sell. So I'm sure they, after their first album didn't set the world on fire, I'm positive, who are they with? Rykodisc? Yeah.
Rykodisc,
Yeah, I'm positive they put more pressure on them. Guys, be more mainstream, be more accessible, be more listenable. So.
And then they fucking just jumped over to DreamWorks.
Yeah, that's, well, it's possible Ryko Works or whatever they were probably got swallowed up by then.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
DreamWorks was kind of on the rise. 97, yeah, this was around. This was around when they were starting to sort of swell up.
So, gentlemen, out of 5, what would you rank Morphine, Cure for Pain?
Oh, tough question. Out of 5, honestly, I'd probably, you know what? I'd be a little generous and say it's about like a 2 out of 5, maybe, because you know what? I gotta give credit for the concept. I gotta give credit for the fact that they execute it well. Like I say, the guys are all talented. Well, except for the vocals, of course, but all the instrumentation is well executed. The drums are nice and punchy. The saxophone is on point. Their saxophonist was actually really skilled. I was pretty impressed most of the time. When we stayed out of JCPenney, it was a blast, you know. But and the bass work was great. Instrumentally, it was pretty solid. So I gotta give them props for being able to execute their concept as high and as well as they possibly could. I just think at its core, it's just a very flawed concept, and there's just not much you can do with this, you know? I mean, grunge and jazz, just those. Like, you would have to be a fucking maniacal Frank Zappa level genius to make that work somehow. And these guys, and Mark Sandman is no Frank Zappa. I'm sorry.
Darren, what would you
really
give
want
it?
to hear that. Now I really want to hear that project.
Right?
Frank Zappa.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh god, I'd kill to hear the Frank Zappa grunge album.
Grunge jazz.
Yeah.
But I would give this a 2. I would give it a 2 as well, because like you said, like I like you want to compliment them on their instrumentation, and you know, like I said, the saxophone stuff is great. It's crisp, but it's just like it doesn't do enough to make you like
interested.
There is a whole world of music that I can listen to, and I will literally never need to come back to this.
You know what I mean? Like a concept like this is really interesting, and not a lot of people have done it. I should remember this album for years and years to come, and I promise you, I will never think about this album again once we stop talking about it. That's a failure right there. Oof.
Across the board, 2s.
2s. Yeah.
I would definitely give it a 2 also. I wanted to enjoy it a lot more, just on the purpose of, like, I saw jazz rock, and when Buena started, I was like, all right. And before I got tired of the dude's vocals, I was like, all right, this might work. But then I was like, oh god, this is all it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like it doesn't change up nearly enough to stay interesting. The lyrics are trying to be abstract, and they're just they don't work. He's not singing about anything interesting when he's trying to be like tortured or whatever. It doesn't come off well.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's any variation of emotion.
No.
Yeah, there's not much emotion, period. It's just way too obtuse, and just like it's trying to be deeper than it really is.
Yeah,
you know?
Which is the early 90s.
Which is the early 90s in a nutshell, right? Yeah, exactly.
We got so much to say. Sure you do.
It's like, your economy's fine, shut the fuck up.
Hey, Cobain didn't make any sense, and he was a genius.
You only got to deal with Bush for like one more year.
Oh yeah, and then wait till the 2000s.
Then it gets great.
Then you motherfuckers get the sequel.
Well, Crash, thank you so much for joining us on this. Was this the inaugural review of 2017? I don't remember. At any rate, it was great to have you along for the ride.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. It's a blast. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'm glad we were able to bring Morphine into your life, because you said you weren't you hadn't even heard of this band beforehand. I'm glad that we can now have one more band in your repertoire that you will never revisit.
Yeah, see, you say that, and like I said, I'm gonna forget this dumb thing as soon as we stop talking about it. But you know what? Thanks for the attempt. That was exactly
not a problem. Thanks again to Charles Hanna for requesting this on Patreon. Hope we did you proud.
Yeah, dude. We I promise we tried our hardest with this, man. We really, really did.
You know how Darren always says, like, he gives the album 2 plays through or whatever. I gave this a few listens, but not entire listens. Like, it was multiple sessions of, all right, I gotta fucking... And for 37 minutes, having to take breaks, that's a really bad sign.
Yeah, like,
if you can't even listen to a full album 37 minutes the whole way through, you got troubles.
Yeah, I gave it 2 solid sit-throughs, too. Like, I sat there and I gave it all my attention and said, okay, Morphine, impress me, And, like... Yeah, like I said, I'm having trouble remembering the songs even now as we're talking about them. So, this album's got problems. It really does.
Well, that about does it for the Going Off podcast this week. Thank you very much for checking us out. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes so you never miss an episode. We're also on SoundCloud and YouTube. You can help us out on Patreon. Follow us out on... Follow us on both Facebook and Twitter to find out what we're doing, what we're talking about throughout the week, what we might be talking about on the podcast. And I guess until next week, I'm Muse.
And I'm Rap Critic. Start gathering your receipts for your taxes now.